So first of all, welcome. I'm Mads from VertiChat, and I'm here with one of what I feel is the most under-recognized villains in the vertical space, Elisha Davis. Thank you for taking the time to have a chat with me this morning.
Indeed.
Can we start off by you telling me a little bit about yourself?
Sure, I can tell you some stuff about me. I'll give you the interesting stuff, just to keep it short for you. I grew up in Southwest Pennsylvania, which, for those of you that don't know, it's kind of known as the Rust Belt of the United States. It's a area that has lots of blue collar heritage in it. My grandfather rolled steel in the steel factories of Pittsburgh. My other grandfather was a coal miner. My dad was a boilermaker. My stepdad was a welder. All my uncles are carpenters and electricians. Very blue collar areas where I come from. When I was 18, I moved to Minnesota to go to college. And I went to start my career in ministry. I actually went to school to be a pastor. And then from college, I came to California for my master's degree. I went to Fuller Seminary for my master's of divinity, which is just a fancy way of saying theology and church stuff. Um, but it was a wonderful experience there. I really enjoyed everything I had there. I've been doing acting all my life, but not seriously, not like pursuing it as a career. Again, where I'm from in the blue collar world, it's not really a job you pursue. It's not like a skill work that you pursue. And so it was more of a hobby most of my life. And I did it when I was in high school. I did it when I was in college. I took classes when I was in Minnesota. And even when I came here and I was in seminary, I was still taking acting classes. It was a hobby, it was a passion of something I really loved and enjoyed. Um, but I went through a big turning point in my life during COVID. Kind of was one of those people that had all the stuff fall apart in your life at the right time and at the same time. And after I started building that back up, I decided I wanted to do things that brought me life and brought me meaning and things that made me come alive. And I've pivoted to putting all my energy and focus into acting, and I've been doing it since. And that's how I ended up in the verticals.
I think you answered just like four of my questions in your hello.
Yeah. Well, thanks. And by the way, I might be one of the most underrated villains, but let me tell you, I'm working into being a great protagonist too. That's for sure.
I'm so keen to see it too.
Yeah.
So you're about 20 verticals deep in your acting
Yeah,
career.
I think I just
How
finished my 21st, 22nd, something like that. Something
How
like that.
many of those would you say you're the antagonist or a rough percentage?
Honestly, probably like 85 to 90%. 85 to like 90%.
You
Um,
poor thing.
Although it's interesting because the very first vertical I ever did, I did with Jackson Teller, and I was the third wheel, and I wasn't an antagonist. I was just the third wheel, like could be romantic interest guy. And then like from that moment on, for like a long string of things, I was just the villain. Like I was just the villain. Like and then I worked for Playlet after that, and then from that moment forward, like word got around that I could do this villain really good. Um, and yeah, so it was like I started out being a pretty good guy, and then it just went straight villain for a good long time, up until um, I don't know. I think it was this past year I did a lead protagonist with Alexa Reddy, um, and that was my first one. I think that might have been her first one she did back then too, for because she was doing an antagonist as well. She still does now and then, but she's crushing it right now. Um, then I did another lead project when I went to China, and I filmed in China. That's the one that we were talking about. My Kept Billionaire, the billionaire mistaken as a gigolo. That was me. So that's the other lead
That is
protagonist I did.
so good.
But honestly, the favorite role I've ever had is this last project I did. This guy he was a phenomenal character. It was the most fun I've ever had. It's the best set I've ever been on. I really, hell, I miss being there now.
Are you allowed to give out any more information or no?
What I can tell you about that project is that it's going to be an amazing project because it was written and directed by the director. And this is a director, Casey Jackson, who's had hit shows come out on Real Short, on Drama Box. He does a phenomenal job. He wrote this project to be a little bit more groundbreaking and hopefully push the vertical world into spaces that has what I would say more integrity. The story has a lot of integrity to it. It's a great story. You're not going to have all the tropes that you normally have. If anything, it might feel like, hey, did these guys try to fit a movie into a vertical? That's kind of my, it might feel like that, which is great. It was awesome. There's definitely some vertical stuff in it here and there, just to make sure it's got tons of romance in it. It's got some, who done it, what's going on in it for sure. But it was the best script I ever read, best character I ever got to play. It was the best set I was ever a part of. Um, I missed that cast, and it was great.
You mentioned it was unlike pretty much anything we've ever seen.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, it's a story that doesn't have billionaires, doesn't have werewolves, doesn't have vampires, doesn't have. Uh, the thing that really gets me every time in verticals is like you'll be at the end of the show and then like something really like overly convenient happens to kind of like wrap everything up. Like there's some things that happen in this story, and I was like, you know what? That helps move the plot along, but it's believable. Thank you. Like stuff like that. Like there are, because as an actor, when you're trying to embody a character, when you're looking at the role or in the things you have to say, you're like, okay, I get it. We're going for shock value here. We're going, but it becomes so disingenuous at times, and you start to
mm,
feel like a caricature more than an actual character.
yeah.
And with this one, it's about bikers, it's about love, there's three guys, there's one girl who's trying to put all these pieces together, and there's got a little bit of a triangle there with trying to figure out the pieces and who she's meant to be with. um, and it's I don't want to give too much more away other than to say that it's a show that you're going to want to watch because it's not one that you've seen before.
I'm so keen. Like just the way you've been
Yeah.
hyping it up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I know, and the thing is, I'm seeing more and more verticals branch out a little bit more and doing a slightly more things. And we got some ones that are going into the horror direction. Great, awesome. I think that can work. And we had a couple timepiece ones that came out that I was like, thank God. Those are hard to do, but man, I think we could do those too. So I'm really hoping that this continues to push the envelope for we're what the fans want to see and also what we're capable of doing, because these type of stories, like they're touching, they're good. And I think hopefully we'll want to keep seeing more of them. And I heard someone describe verticals as like it's the junk food of entertainment, and I'm like, I get it, I know what you mean. Like we're not putting Scorsese on here, we're not doing that. um but at the same time, if all you do as an actor or as an artist is eat junk food, like you get sick. You get
Yeah.
sick of it, and it affects your body, it affects your craft, it affects the way you feel. And so I'm really hoping that, yeah, it can be junk food, but man, let's make it some gourmet junk food. Let's go. Let's start putting some good stuff in there. So I'm really hoping that's what this does.
Well, what do you want to see more of?
um I'm actually writing one right now, and I'm working on the pitch deck for it. I am writing a Western romance. Yeah, I don't think we have enough Westerns. I know they're hard because it goes with the whole production value, costumes, wardrobe, time era, and stuff like that. But I'm trying to write it in a way that will work because of where I'm from. Like I said, I grew up so much blue collar. My dad was such a big Western fan. Oh my God, such a huge Western fan. I mean, such a Western fan. I mean, like the whole gun draw and everything, cowboy. Like he loved it, and so yeah, I've always had a place in my heart for Westerns, and I have this story that every time I sit down to write it, I get excited about it. I tweak it, I get more excited about it. I haven't seen anything like it, and I think it'll fit a vertical world really well. Um, But what I'm hoping it will do is I'm hoping that we'll start pushing ourselves into more cinematic ways of doing these. Right now, we're doing them with paywalls and with shock values and with cliffhangers, and we're forcing them into our medium so that it gets clicks or it fits what we think is going to work. But deep down in my gut and in my heart, I always believe that the better the story, the better the cinematography, the more likely it will be to succeed. I'm just really hoping that we get more cinema, like more cinema style verticals that are telling stories and not shock value.
It's going to be really hard to break out of that stereotype at the
Of
moment.
course, because it's about the money. It's about the money. And I get it. You know, you have all these platforms right now. There's this gold rush of people trying to make money off of this, and there is definitely methods to making that money. Um, and I think we might, we're a little far away from it being what I would like it to be. But over time, the market as it continues to be flooded will dwindle down because again, I think even the fans eventually will be like, God, I love barbecue chips. It's the greatest junk food in the world, but I've had 10 bags. I need something new. Like
Yeah.
I've had 10 bags. I need something new. And that's gonna happen. And eventually these clients and these producers and the people that have the money that are trying to make these decisions are going to have to be brave enough to expand more. And we're seeing that because in a sea of junk food, if you don't differentiate yourself, you're lost. You're lost. And so I'm hoping that they realize that the integrity of the story, the integrity of how we film it, the integrity of how we make these projects is what's going to make good ones stand out.
It's still going to take a while for that to happen.
Yeah, it will. But if stuff like that, if the stuff like the one I just did does well, and the other ones I see that are branching out, if they do well, nothing changes the win like success.
That's like a few of them have been promoting what they believe is a good project and it's underperformed.
Yeah,
And that it's really hurt. Well, not like really hurt them, but I don't know. It's taken a turn because the ones that are repetitive are still getting the views.
yeah.
So
That I don't know if that has anything to do with how they advertise. I don't know. I'm curious how they, I don't know the back end on the marketing and how they decide to advertise and where they decide to advertise. But I
I
know it.
know
I know
that.
that it. Yeah, because just because the story's good, just because it's good, just because it was done well, doesn't mean it was marketed well. Yeah,
I think it all depends on how
it
you
does. It
market it.
does. And I know that, there's some people have baked in audiences already with how many, and that's where the following matters a lot for people is if you have a baked in audience already.
But for me, that was like my favorite genre is young adult. So I can see
Yeah.
like that appeals to me.
Yeah.
Like obviously I would watch it. Like I
Yeah.
think a lot of the audience is around like my age range, like 18 to 25. Yeah.
I've been told that. And I've also been told middle aged, like
Yes.
40s. Yeah.
There's
Those are the
like
two
the
main
two
demographics.
bra yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Those are
two
it.
yeah. For me, I was just endlessly streaming these things. Like it's crazy how many I used to watch in a day.
Wow.
It's embarrassing. Like I probably used to watch every waking moment.
Wow.
Like,
Well, hey,
yeah.
if, if you like what you like, that's where it is.
But no,
If it brings you joy, it's not hurting anybody. Have at
it's
it.
hurting my bank account, how many
Oh
apps there
yeah, it
are.
hurts. Yes, yeah, verticals will hurt your bank account. No shit. Even as the actor, I'm like, do I really want to pay to see how if it what it looked like? I'm like, damn, I don't know.
No, that'd have to be like my biggest with this whole seeing situation, like is the amount of apps, can't they like combine them all? Like, or even,
It'll happen.
I don't
It'll
know.
happen when. the market will contract it eventually. I don't know if we're still in the expansion phase yet, but at some point it will contract because you can only flood the market with barbecue chips for so long. Yeah.
Wait till they bring in another flavor.
Mm.
Mm.
Hoping they are. I think they're working on it. Yeah, seriously, like we're not Pornhub. This isn't Pornhub.
My partner literally goes, "You're watching soft porn." Like,
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes, like, my sister called me yesterday and she goes, "Are you doing porn?" I said, "No, no, I'm not doing porn. I'm doing verticals that at times are very soft porn-ish."
I can see where people get that idea
Yeah,
because whatever they advertise, like on TikTok or wherever they advertise it, it's always those scenes.
yeah, it is. It's part of the first 10 episodes. They want to hook you with it.
Well, that's kind of what they did to me. Like I watched up until the paywall and then it just took all my money.
It takes your money.
It's really bad for that. Oh, goodness. If you could choose between playing the hero or playing the villain, which one would you choose and why?
Honestly, it really depends on the story. And I'll give you an example. Most of the time, I want to play the hero. Um, it's in my nature to want to protect, to want to help, to want to be there for other people. But a really great villain is so fun. I like so fun. And when I say great villain, I'm not talking about these villains that we have in verticals oftentimes that every scene they're in, they're just an asshole. Where it's just like they're just like, I hate you, you're not mine, you're worthless, you're pathetic. Why would you think I like it's always that. It's like it's one note. But like a good villain that genuinely believes they're trying to do something good for the world and it comes out in a layered way, or even a comic book villain like Harvey Dent, Two Face, the Joker, these iconic villains that have the ability to stand time and also just let it loose. That's the thing about being certain villains that you can just let loose and it's great, it's fun. But in verticals, it's a little bit tougher because all the villains in verticals pretty much abuse women and children. And it's awful. I like it coming from a domestically violent home who tried to protect his mom when I was growing up. It sucks being that man. But to be to be Dracula, who's been 1,000 years old or older, and he's a villain, but he's got this. He's like mysterious. He's magnetic. Like, and yeah, he might kill people. He's a vampire. I don't care. They don't exist. You know what I mean? Like, if it's a fantasy character, awesome. I can go ham on it because I don't have to worry about this being somewhere in real life. So those villains are a lot of fun. But the ones where it's like, oh, he's just a cheating boyfriend who wants to abuse you and treat you like shit. And you want me to be this guy in every scene in this project?
Yeah.
Like that's draining. That's draining.
And it's
Um,
excessive too.
yeah, but like roles like man, yeah, heroes, lead protagonists, those are the ones I dream of more than anything else. But I would never turn down a villain that was challenging and iconic. I would never do that.
Keen to see you on a really over the top with depth villain
Yeah, yeah,
instead of these ones that just because.
yeah, right. Yeah. The villain, the antagonist in my Western romance I'm writing, man, I'm writing myself into the story as the lead guy, but a part of me is like, damn, this antagonist, he's good. He's good. He's fun. Like he's older than me. I can't be him. I can't be this guy. But I keep writing him like, damn, he's good.
What has been the most challenging role you've done so far?
Hmm, challenging. It's an interesting word because I could say what's been the most difficult role to do. And the one that comes to my mind would be one that I did in China. It was the antagonist I did because I didn't like the content of the character. And it was a role that I came under contract to do it before the script was finished. So I didn't necessarily know everything that I was going to be asked to do. And that character was said some things, did some things that literally triggered me, took me back to my childhood, and that was hard. Um, but other than that, the roles aren't necessarily challenging that I've had. And it's because, like I said, they're not challenging in the sense of like I have to put myself out there, really dive into chewing on things. They've been challenging in being willing to put up with what I have to say and do as the villain, or they've been challenging in the sense of when I've been the lead protagonist and I've been like, yeah, but I don't know if that would really make sense. Like people don't like that's been the most challenging thing. Well, I would rephrase that and say that the role that I've invested myself into the most was the last one I just did. I came incredibly prepared. So like it wasn't challenging because I wanted to, but I was the most invested I've ever been into that role. I came prepared. I was ready. I broke it down. I was incredibly excited to be part of that. So I think that's the way I'll answer that. I was the most invested in that role.
Thank you. Very
Yeah.
different take.
Yeah.
Hmm. Is there a role that you haven't done but are really wanting to do?
Yeah. Um, in verticals or in general? Yeah, I can answer both.
Yeah, both.
Yeah. In verticals, I would love to do a lead protagonist mafia character. Um, I can do it really well.
I am
I've had
so there
auditions
for
for it.
that.
I've had
I am so
auditions for
there.
it. I've gotten this close to landing it before, a couple different times. And one time I almost had it and it would have had me shooting in Mexico, but I didn't have my passport then and I was pissed. I was like, but now I do. So whoever's out there anywhere, come get me.
Anyone sees this?
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, mafia character. I like those characters a lot. I watched The Sopranos. I've watched The Godfather. I've watched The Usual Suspects. I mean, I've just watched so much mafia stuff, and I love it. It would be really fun. In general, though, I would love to be part of a spy thriller, whether it's a vertical movie, short film, something like that. I would love spy thrillers. I would love to do that. Um, and the last thing is, man, I like vampires. I like me vampires. I do. I'm reading Bram Stoker's Dracula right now. It's a hefty book. That's one of my favorite, horror movies is Bram Stoker's Dracula. Um, they're just fun characters. They have it's such a strong culture. Like it's such a strong culture that you can jump into. It's not like just another country. It's like it's a whole nother world, and that's really fun. And then obviously westerns. Man, I want to do a western so bad, so bad. That's why I'm writing it because I want to do it. So
Somebody just needs to see this. So I'm just gonna like share it every day so they can
yeah,
pick up on it. Just cast you
yeah,
already. Like,
yeah. And I can grow a full beard. I can do my hair multiple ways. You know,
what creative process have you developed that helps you prepare for a role or a performance?
sure. Once I know I have the role and I have the script in my hand, I read the script multiple times. Um, Especially if it's a caricature. Again, I'll be honest. If it's a caricature, I'll read the script probably twice just to kind of get it. I'm like, all right, I've done this scene before in another vertical. I've done this guy in another like if it's like that, it's not too hard. You just want to know the beats, the actions. What are they looking for? Are they looking for a certain turn here, a certain look there? Um, and that's not as invigorating. But when I'm actually breaking down the role of something and whatnot, I'll read the script multiple times. I'll go through it. I'll go through it when I'm exercising. I'll go through it when I'm walking. I'll go through it when I'm just sitting down. I'll go through it when I'm tired. I want to go through the script multiple times and in multiple places when my body and in my emotions are in different places. so that if anything else clicks or jumps at me, it's a way of digging with different tools, so to speak. And then once I have that, I have actually sitting here, I actually have this binder that I have. It's my personal binder based on all the different classes and things and the studios I've studied at. And I literally go through and I start breaking down my stuff, and I have a whole character sheet with different questions and that I answer, and then I go through and I apply the technique that I study now at the Ivana Chubbuck Studio to every scene. I write it down, and then the most work is the personalization of it. Is where once you have all that, it's finding a way to personally connect to it all and make it make sense for you personally. And that's where a lot of the work actually comes from. The craft part and like figuring out the other stuff, that's half of it. I would say that the other half of the work is really personalizing it. Because, like, for example, if you're in a scene and I go to hand this woman a pink diamond necklace, and I say, "This was my grandmother's pink diamond necklace, and she wore it all her life, and she wanted me to give it to my wife one day." I have to infuse this thing with meaning somehow from my real life, and so like I have to figure out what that is. But that's kind of the thing that takes the time, is going through and figuring out what do these things actually mean for this person so that I can communicate what that is. That's a lot of the process. But walking is a big one. This is interesting. When you shout, oh, hi, by the way. Oh, oh, hi, buddy. My bunny came to say hi.
Hi! Oh my God!
Yeah. This is Django. He's a bunny. I know. I was like, if she asked me, cats or dogs, I was going to be like, bunny.
That's
But
yeah.
bunny. He came to say hi. He was just jumping around. All right, buddy. Um. Anyways, I forgot what I was saying because of the bunny.
Great distraction anyway. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I totally forgot what we're talking
The
about.
process. Yeah, the process. Other than that, yeah, that's it. And then it's just that you try it out. The nice thing is if you come prepared to set, a lot of times the set will allow you to do a walkthrough or a dry run or a rehearsal. Then you're ready to actually see if one of your choices works, which is great. You don't want to be figuring it out there necessarily. You want to figure it out before you get there. And then, because if it doesn't, you'd be like, no, no. Or if you have a suggestion with the director, you'd be like, yeah, actually, when the collaboration process is just so much more rich when you can show up that way.
Never thought of it that way. You do a lot more research into how you
Yeah,
should portray.
yeah. And again, I think earlier I talked about having the integrity. Like, I hope we have stories with more integrity and stuff like that. My, I do. I think Meisner, Udo Hagen, they all talk about specificity. Like the great acting studios, the great acting teachers, they will talk to you about the importance of specificity of your character. Like, if your character has a limp, what kind of limp? Like, are they limping because their big toe hurts or because their knee hurts? Is it because their hip is, like, so, like, you gotta, like, there's specificity. Specificity really is really what helps sell character. And so it's that again, you read it over and over again. The more specific you get, the more character like you're going to become, or at least be able to, at least in my mind. So yeah, I think that really matters. And to be honest, coming from a pastoral background where I went to seminary and I had to break down Hebrew and Greek and theology and philosophy and research and study, I feel like that translated so well to acting for me, so that when I'm looking through the script, I kind of understand the process of searching for things, trying to break things down, because I was already doing it for this fucking Bible that was like thousands of years old with multiple languages and multiple histories and like I was already doing that shit. And so now I do it with this script that's like this. You know what I mean? Like, so like it's an advantage uh, when people hire me that they get that.
So can you speak? like
No,
other
I
languages?
used to be able to do it a little bit because when we were in class, our professor was able to do it. But the biggest thing that they're concerned about in seminary is your ability to read and translate because it's ancient Hebrew, it's ancient Greek, it's not present day. There are some carryovers there, and then as you study it and practice it, and then you're doing it, like you definitely understand it more, and as you're reading it out loud, you can do it. But it's not like we practice speaking it as much as we did the interpretation of it.
What is the most challenging thing about getting into character for the villain role?
When it's abusive. Um, for me, this is just me personally, because when my when it's abusive towards women or children, if it's a man, whatever. Like whatever. Just sorry guys. But again, I grew up in a domestically violent home. I saw things with my mom, and so that's the hardest part for me. And I've worked on it with my coach because these, you know, men who abuse women exist. They exist and they're in the world, and we shouldn't have to shy away from it. I don't like that we use them in verticals as clickbait. I don't like that. Um, I don't like that we use it for the sake of getting the money because I feel like it kind of glorifies it a little bit. I don't like that either. Uh, so that's the hardest part because I have to find a way to mentally switch everything in my head. The mental gymnastics is okay, I'm not calling her, this isn't this person, and I'm not doing this to this person. I'm saying this. I'm actually doing this. And it's a lot of mental gymnastics to just do that. And more often than not, in any scene that is abusive, whether it's physically, verbally, emotionally, spiritually, or sexually towards another woman, the primary goal of that person doing that in the scene is to get their power back. Like nobody really abuses someone else without the goal of getting their power back. And so I have to figure out in my life or in my past who took my power away in a way that it would be easy for me to go after it if I substitute what this action is. And that's the mental gymnastics of it. It is. But if it's like a villain that has a scene and it's fun and it's like I had this scene one time in a werewolf one where I had the lead protagonist guy. He was in my dungeon cellar. Like I was like the rival alpha werewolf, whatever. And I finally caught him and I was torturing him and he's all chained up and I got skulls around the room. Like that was fun. That preparing for that is like those are moments where I'm like, how diabolical can I be? Those are fun. There aren't really mental gymnastics for that but when it starts getting into the stuff that touches close to home for me and what I saw and experienced as a child, then I got to do the work. And I remember a couple times I've broken down on set. I've cried because it just triggered too much. And I've worked with a therapist on it before, and just like sometimes after I do a scene that's hard for me, I'll just have to go somewhere and immediately journal. I'll have to immediately get it out. So sometimes it's not so much about the preparation as it is the recovery, because like I just got to be willing to let myself feel what I'm going to feel and then go recover. But I had this scene, I think it was in it's like it was like one of those family, those like um my surrogate uncle's ex baby daddy, something, I don't know, something like that. Like it was like my uncle, she was dating me, we never hooked up. I wanted to hook up with her, she never would. I end up going out with some other girl, cheating on her. She finds out, she breaks it off with me, ends up with my uncle for a surrogacy thing, and then I like try to ruin it because I'm like, you can't be with anyone, like all that stuff. And I had this scene where I had to corner her in a bathroom, make it impose myself so that she couldn't leave, and I had to get in her face, and then I had to grab her by the throat and like have her against the wall and in a threatening, menacing way. And after I did that scene, because it reminded me of something I saw, I walked away to the balcony. I tried to calm down. I did because I didn't want to slow down production, but I couldn't do it. I broke down. I cried. I needed about 15 minutes. It wasn't because I wasn't willing to do it again. It was just it was just too visceral. It made me feel like I was somebody I never wanted to be. Um, and so yeah, I needed some time to recover, and they were kind, they were good. My actor friends were good with me. The director was good with me on it. They understood. Um, and because they know, sometimes when you do these scenes, you do stuff, sometimes stuff comes out because you're trying to tap into it. Yeah. So that is the only time it's happened. There's been times I've told people I don't want to do certain things, or I've asked to change the language or the actions, and they've been pretty good about it. Only a handful of times they were like, "No, you got to say this exact thing," and I'll be like, "Oh my gosh, all right." But most of the time they've been pretty good. Is that your kitty?
Yeah. Sorry, he was like, you know how they go to jump up and then like
Yeah,
back and forwards, back and forwards. Yeah. This is
yeah.
Ace.
Hi, Ace.
Scene. Do they advise you beforehand or like did you know that you had to do that scene as you were like
That
auditioning?
was the one I didn't know. That was the one because when I signed up to go to China, I had the script for the My Kept Billionaire one, which was the protagonist guy, but they didn't have the script finished for the second project, and they had signed. Well, they wanted to bring me on board for both, and so I was like, "All right, I'll sign on," because I was really excited about My Kept Billionaire. And then as I was doing that one, I think I got the whole script for the next project like the day before I wrapped My Kept Billionaire. And then in like 3 days, we were supposed to start the other project. So it's like it was an insanely fast turnaround. And then that was when I started reading through it, being like, crap, I don't like what I'm gonna have to say. I don't like what I'm gonna have to do. um,
Yeah.
and it was only a couple scenes. It was only just like a couple scenes that I felt that way about. All the other stuff was the character, the gimmicky, villain guy that's like, oh, look at me. I'll show you how handsome I am. I'll take my shirt off for you in the hospital. Like silly stuff. Again, they find ways to get me shirtless. They really do. Let me
Do you
take
like
my
being
shirt off in the
shirtless?
hospital. I'm like, nobody does this, but we'll do it.
This is so unrealistic. Like
Yeah. They're like, we don't care. And then they have me like, do the peck thing. And I'm like, really? I'm like, all right, whatever. That's fine. I feel stupid, but that's fine. Um, I can do that, but it was only like those one or two scenes that were a little bit more like sexually assaultive or physically violent and domestically violent that were really tough for me. And they probably always will be.
it just hits that close to home.
Yeah, once you see the things that I've seen and been through the things I've been, I feel like it's tough.
Do you reckon there's like ever a time in the future where you'll just say no to those sorts of scripts like altogether instead of like pushing
Yeah,
them
if I had
aside?
enough money, if I had enough money, for sure. If I ever get to the place where I have the luxury of being able to choose, I will say no. And to be honest, though, even though I'm not like at that place yet, I still do say no. I've turned down multiple roles before. In fact, when I was in China, they wanted me to do two more villains right after that, and I said no.
Because that
Um,
one other one was emotionally
it
taxing.
just triggered me. I just needed to get away from that sense, and so um, I turned down another villain for Playlet in the beginning of the year because I didn't want to do it because I think that time I was just upset that they kept not considering me for the lead. I think I was just being pissy, but I also didn't like the character either, so it didn't matter. Uh, I'm honest.
I love your honesty. It's like so brutal, like straight to the point.
I'm honest. Um, so yeah, I turned that one down before. I've turned other ones down, whether it was I think it was Harrison Ford one time. He was in an interview. He said, money really helps you forget how stupid things are. And so, like, sometimes it is. Sometimes the money really does help. And there's other roles I've been like, I'm not going to do it for that amount. I can't do that. So, um, Like even today, I had an audition this morning, and I was looking through the sides again. It was for a lead antagonist, and like the number two in the call sheet. Call sheet. So there's the girl, and then there's the guy. Um, and I was looking through it, and I was looking at the stuff he's going to have to do and say, and some of the things they're saying he has to be willing to do. And I was like, nah, I don't want to do that. And so even though it paid really well, I didn't even audition. I didn't want to audition for it because it was just like, like sometimes it's not worth it. And so I'm trying to be more. I've become more selective, but obviously as an actor, sometimes you don't have the luxury of it unless you're doing well. And so sometimes I say no when I can. Other times I don't because I can't.
I was gonna say, is there like has there ever been like a time where you've like landed the role and then you've like thought more about it and then was like, no, I don't want to do this anymore?
Nope, not yet. Um, Not yet. I mean, because usually when I accept the role, I usually know pretty much what I'm getting into. Because I've read the script, I've asked questions, I've asked about intimacy and stunts, all that stuff. So usually, once I get into the role, I'm in it. It doesn't mean um, again, it doesn't mean I don't have moments where I wish I didn't have to do certain things. Like again, a certain antagonist, like I don't want to have to do certain things, but it doesn't mean I don't want to do the role. Yeah.
You sort of like skimmed over my next question. Well, next question. Like, do you ever disagree with the dialogue? Do you ever
Oh
ask to
yeah.
change or tweak some of the language as you don't agree with it or because of how over the top it is?
Yep.
Do
Yep.
they
At
adjust it?
first, at first I didn't. When I was first doing it, I was like, I was trying to just do my job, do it well. And the more I got into it, and the more I cared about the integrity of the story, I will come to set. I will print my sides off into the booklet for the day of sides because I usually have my whole script already printed off like that. I've already made my notes. And I will come to set with like, hey, this says it here. Do you think if I reword it and say it this way, it could work better? And oftentimes they're okay with it. Like on this last project, even though Casey was the writer and the director, he was super collaborative on figuring out how to have things come out the best way, which was a real gift. It's a real gift when that happens. Um, and most of the time they're pretty open to it. Again, there's only been a couple times where they're like, "No, we need you to say it exactly like this," and I was like, "I don't like that, but I'll do it." And it had to do with the way it made me feel personally, because it was like a sexual statement of like this guy being like really aggressive, and I was like, if I'd really like to say this differently. Yeah,
Yeah.
but they needed it because of the title, or I don't know, so I did that. But most of the time they're pretty open to it. At least the teams I've worked with. But I've heard of other teams that are like, it's got to be this. But I've been lucky in that way. Yeah, you're trying to collaborate. You're trying not to slow down production. You're trying to um, make it better. Essentially, if you can show that you're trying to make it better, most people are open to hearing it.
These are all like not translations, but weren't most of these, yeah, from was it the Asian culture? And they just got
Yeah, a lot of them
adapted
are
to,
fan fiction.
yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of them just literally copy each other. I I kid you not. The project I told you about that I did in China that I was like, I didn't know what the script was. I broke down crying because of that one scene. I came back to the United States, and a couple months later, I saw the exact same breakdown here. Exact same. They didn't change anything. Same character names, same character breakdowns. And I was like, oh, they're just making it again. Okay.
Copy
And
and paste.
this was when that one was currently doing well on the platform. Like it was trending in like the top 5. And I'm looking at it going, it's trending now. Somebody else is making the same script. Like this is what I mean. It's like the flood of barbecue chip junk food is insane to me because it's like it's already been done, folks. You're just hoping that the people on your platform haven't seen it yet, I guess. I don't know. And so that happens way more than you think. In fact, there are times I've done auditions. I've done auditions with my friends. I've done auditions with other vertical actors, and we'll be like, "Hey, I just did this scene in another vertical. I can tell you how this goes." Like, like we, it's insane how much of it gets copied. That's why the originality of things like the last project I did and these other ones that are trying to push a little bit more and branch out are so refreshing and so needed. Yeah.
I love your views on everything. You're so passionate. Like,
I want to make good art. I want to make good art. I want to move people. I want people to be touched by what we do. I don't want to just make slop for the sake of slop. I want to make stuff that, sticks with people and makes them think differently and see the world differently, or at least better. And I know that not everything can do that. I get that, I get that, but I at least want to have integrity in the work that we do.
mm. Have you ever thought of going blockbuster?
Uh, you mean like try? Yeah, I mean like I'm SAG eligible right now. I got a manager. I've had an agent before. I need to get another agent here soon, probably to try to do more of that. The issue is that I trying to get into SAG and doing SAG work means that as of right now, I can't do verticals, which pays decent. And to get into SAG, I would have to pay like $4,000 right now. It's about the cost to get in. And I've had auditions for like day player roles or like smaller roles in like feature films or certain union projects, but the pay for those roles, like even if I'm on set for 2, 3 days, it's not even going to add up to the $4,000. So, do I give up my non-union work right now that is like a gold rush right now to get into another area of the industry that is essentially dead right now? Unless you're already a name, unless you're already an established name and you already have the credits and the stuff, then yeah, it'd be great to be in SAG. That's honestly the movies and television. That's what I want to do. And my goal is to do what I can well enough to be able to continue to write and make my own content so that I can get myself out there and people can see what I'm trying to do.
I reckon you do it really well too.
Trying.
Being a vertical actor obviously comes with its own set of challenges. Is there a skill you've had to learn for a specific role or to get a role?
Accents. I've had to work on accents more for verticals than anything else. I haven't. Uh, I've had auditions for things like that required me to say that I can play certain instruments or willing to learn. Um, this last one I did, uh, I don't have a motorcycle license, but I've ridden motorcycles before, so that they wanted to see if I can even handle a motorcycle without even going anywhere, which was fine. But the stuff like that, like I'll put it this way: if this project does well, I'm thinking about needing to get my motorcycle license because I know that the director has another story about these two lead characters in his pocket, just waiting to go if this story does well. Which in that case, I better get my motorcycle license, um, which would be
Part two
fun.
already?
Well, he has the prequel done, which would be very interesting. Once you see the story, you would understand why the prequel will be fun to watch.
Mm.
Or he has an idea for a sequel, which I think he's thinking about writing. Again, it just kind of depends on how this one does, but that one would be fun to do to learn how to drive a big bike like that. I've done dirt bikes and stuff when I was in high school because I came from the mountains and whatnot, but I've never driven like a big street bike. So I'd have to learn how to do that. But I haven't had to learn anything else really. Um, Not too much for the billionaire CEOs to learn, you know. They're already at the top.
What accents have you had to learn?
I've tried to put on French and British. British was terrible. I got to get better at that. I do. I got to get better at that. French wasn't too bad. I think if I had more time, I could do French better. I've done German. I didn't get that role, but I've been able. But I took German in high school too, so it was like it wasn't too hard. Um, and Western. It's not Southern, it's Western. Southern's different than Western. In fact, I would say that my natural accent is more Western like than Southern. And but I've done Southern accents and stuff like that before as well. But Western is one I've practiced specifically just to get better at it.
That's like everybody says that all Aussies have the same accent. I'm like, no. What is your biggest fear as an actor?
I never really thought about that. I think everybody always fears failure, but I think that's too easy, like, but I honestly, I think as an actor, I think my biggest fear would be that if somebody had invested in it, like their life's work or their energy and so much time and effort into a character or a story, and I just didn't embody it the way that they were looking. Like I don't want to do a disservice to somebody else's work. That's my fear. I don't want to do a disservice to another person's vision of their work or their story. I want to serve the story. I want to serve the character. I want to bring that character to life. And so my biggest fear is not serving the story or the writer or the vision of the director, um, because I know how important it is.
I feel like that's a lot of people's view on that as well, because they're trying to put their best performance forward, and when it underperforms, they feel like they've let that the writer down or whoever created the story.
Right.
But
Yeah.
do you have any questions for me?
Oh, I didn't come prepared for that, but I guess off the top of my head,
No, you don't have to. Like
honestly, what makes vertical so appealing to you? Like, why do you want to watch them so much? And how do you
they
deal with the plethora of barbecue chips?
they get me out of my own head, really.
Mm,
I'm I'm an overthinker, and when I watch, I get out of my own head and into somebody
sure,
else's head.
sure.
Um, it's literally just, well, it's also my partner games,
Yeah.
and I had to find like something else to do. So,
You know what's? It's amazing that you bring that up. Listen, this whole like the whole thing about like integrity and characters and being like, oh my gosh, do I really have to say that? How do I do it? Like, how do I, me as an actor, how do I bring myself to get over that hump? I discovered it within the last 2 weeks. And it's exactly what you just said a little bit. You said your partner games, right? And I was like, you know what? So many people since like the 90s used to criticize video games and guys
mm,
so much because of the way that it portrays women and ladies and storylines and the guys who get to be the heroes and do all this stuff. And then I was like, and the storylines sometimes they're stupid and they say things that are dumb and like it's not realistic at all, but it's a video game and guys like it. And I was like, you know what? That's what verticals are. They're live action video games for the female audience.
yep.
So now when I go to do an audition, I'm like, oh man, nobody would ever say that. I go, you know what? I'm in a video game. That's what it is. I'm in a female video game. It's a live action female video game. Here I go. Move me, hit the button, let's go. like, like once I made
Sorry.
that switch in my head, I was like, I don't have to care as much anymore. It's a video game. I get it.
That's a good way to understand it.
Right? That's what it is. And so I'm like, oh, well, I liked video games, and now like I was like, I heard the criticism, and I was like, yeah, but I like it. And so now I'm like, I'm a guy who's in a video game. It's a live action video game.
I've never thought of it that way though, but that's really
Yeah,
good.
I didn't either, but like it's been so helpful ever since I did.
Um, this one's like the get to know you. And then
Sure.
I have would you rather and then this or that. And then
Okay.
because I gotta get ready for work very, very soon.
You do your thing.
Favorite animal,
White tiger.
favorite food,
Steak. Steak.
favorite color,
Midnight Black, because it's dark enough to have some mystery.
Interesting. Dream country to visit.
New Zealand. For sure, New Zealand. The other one I've already been to, but it's Italy because romance, history, passion, great food. Say less.
100%. Favorite season.
The end of the summer into the beginning of fall.
When it's not too hot.
Yeah, like the right at the end. Well, yeah, right, like end of August, beginning of September. I love that time of year.
Hmm. Favorite actor, vertical or not?
Oh, steer. I can't say that I have a favorite vertical actor because I got to be honest, I haven't watched many verticals. Um, I've watched a handful, but not too many. I would say that I've had the pleasure to work with a lot of really great actors and actresses, but again, I don't think it might be recency bias, but I would say that Jessica Jacoby was my favorite scene partner I've had in any scenes that I've ever done in verticals. It was such a good story, such good characters. Yeah, so that, and when we did our best to bring those two to life. So she's been my favorite person to work with so far. Um, but actors in general, my favorite I love Christian Bale. I love the way he dives into things. I love Johnny Depp. I love the way he can bring any character to life whatsoever. Daniel Day-Lewis is a fucking god of an actor. And I could watch him in pretty much anything. Uh, Meryl Streep blows my mind. Uh, if I could work with anyone over the age of 70, it would be Steve Martin because he's a genius. He is. He's a genius. Um, let's see. If I could be directed by anybody right now in the world, it would be someone like Scorsese, he probably doesn't even do it anymore, but Clint Eastwood. That guy was amazing. He was amazing. I would love to have had the chance to work with him. My God. There's so many people that inspire me in their work and whatnot. Kevin Costner, he's known as a stubborn man, but geez, he's one of the only people who's ever been nominated for Best Director and Best Actor in the same film. The thing is, when actors and directors and people make something that touches a lot of people, what we don't realize is that these artists are able to tap into the meaning of life somewhere. They've done it. And so I admire so many people. I admire so many people. So it's hard for me to just be like, that one.
Completely understandable.
Yeah. Um, uh, Kate Blanchett is, I don't think I've ever seen a woman be so elegant and so like powerfully present in scenes at the same time. I don't know how she does it. It's insane.
She is amazing.
She is. She blows my mind.
Favorite movie.
Braveheart.
Good movie, that
100%.
one. Good
100%
movie.
Braveheart. Which I have arguments with people about this all the time. This is my take. It is a romance movie set in a wartime. That's my take. It's a hot take. It's my take because that war, that thing, that movie never happens if that man's not in love.
I'm not arguing with that.
Right?
Favorite music genre.
Anything that gets me rowdy or romantic, which usually the rowdy part is like really thumping good country music.
Thank
Um,
you. Thank
yeah,
you.
I go to a little spot down here called Desert Five. It's a great rooftop bar here in Hollywood. It's fantastic. It's like Nashville, but here. Um, and man, it's a great place. So I like that. But um I like my R&B. I like stuff that's romantic too.
Favorite singer or song.
Man, I'm kind of into Chris Stapleton a lot right now, Hozier right now. Um, yeah, those are the two guys I'm listening to the most. It'll change. It will change. My my music choices tend to be practical in the way that they make me feel and what I need out of them more than me being a fan. I become a fan because of how it impacts me. So right now, those are the two guys I'm probably listening to the most. And I also love me Kendrick. I love Kendrick. He's so talented. I know it's not even anywhere close to the stuff I just said, but like I the dude's phenomenal. He's so talented.
That's like I love country music. Love it. But
Yeah.
then I also love have you ever heard of the Elevator Boys? They're a
Yeah, I've heard the
German
name.
like the wouldn't say boy band. Well, but yeah, you could probably say that. Like they're in their 20s, early 20s.
Okay.
But yeah, it's completely different from country music. I'm like country 100% of the time, or
Yeah.
go 99% of the time. And then it's just Elevator Boys,
Yeah.
which I think they're pop.
Sure.
So it's other end, yeah.
Yeah.
So I know I can
Yeah. So
understand from
yeah.
Chris to Kendrick. Like,
Yeah, like I like the dance. I like dance music and stuff, but like I really like my thumping country music. I like that.
hmm. Well, there you go. City life, country life.
Yeah, pretty much. It's tough for me because anytime I live in the country, I always want to go to the city to do stuff. Anytime I'm in the city, eventually I want to escape and get into some seclusion and be in nature. So I'm just fickle, I'm just fickle. So what I'll say is that like I love both, and I know that the only places I really want to live in the world are LA and New York. But that doesn't mean I don't. I gotta get out in nature. I like to camp. I go camping as much as I can. Growing up in the mountains where I did, I love being out in nature and feeling like it's just me and the forest or me and the world.
Would you ever live on like the outskirts of town, like on like a little bit of acreage, but like not far from town? So it still gives you
Yeah,
that, yeah?
yeah, yeah. I would. Those places cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
Uh, Especially out here. But that's like, the Thousand Oak, Malibu,
Mm.
Calabasas area. They're nice. I would definitely live there. If yeah, that would be something I would consider doing.
Biggest pet peeve.
Oh, biggest pet peeve. Let's see here. Mm, I got two. One is people who just chew with their mouth open. I mean, like smack with their mouth open, like the gum and the food, whatever. That's a big one. Um, and I think the second one is it's going to sound really, it just makes me go, why? But when people clap when the plane lands, I'm like, it's not Broadway, Brenda. Like, like, why are we clapping for the plane landing? Are you just excited you're not dead? Like, do you clap at the end of your Uber? Like, you know, it's like you get out of the lift and you're like I don't know. Like, I just so like it kind of just gets me a little bit. I'm like, I don't know. It doesn't like irk me. It just makes me go, what's going on?
Name three things you can't live without.
Beauty, truth, and love. Um, but to be more specific, I would say deep conversations, um, genuine connections, and um, I guess it's the romantic in me, but that spark you get when you're with someone that really touches you or moves you or you just want to be around. That's it's a very intoxicating, powerful feeling, and that's something I don't want to live without.
It's beautiful. Describe yourself in 5 words or less.
Mhm. Well, I'll go with tall, dark, handsome. Not really true anymore because of the color of my hair, so maybe I got to take that away. Um, but I would say I'm deep. I'm compassionate. Um, I'm sensitive. I'm romantic. And then I would say grit and grace. Grit and grace.
Hmm.
Those are the words I would use. Yeah. Deep, compassionate, sensitive, grit, grace. Those all describe me pretty well.
Down to earth, that's for sure.
Well, again, where I came from, it's about as earthy as it gets.
Yeah. Ah, would you rather play the mysterious lover or open book boyfriend?
Mysterious lover, hands down. So much better. It's so much more intriguing.
Friends to lovers or enemies to lovers?
Enemies. So much hotter. Like, let's be honest. Friends to lovers, it's like, yeah, we see that all the time. Like, we do that by accident. Like,
Yeah.
we have Netflix and chill by accident. Friends to lovers, like, enemies to lovers. Like, we're working for two different spy, like, organizations. I'm supposed to kill you. No, that's hot. That's hot. Give me that.
Rich CEO or struggling artist?
I'm the struggling artist, but I will get cast as the CEO more.
Protective alpha or sensitive soul?
Oh, I don't know if I can pick that because that that taps into two very strong things for me because I have a very strong urge to protect people. Um, and it's been there all my life, again, because of what I went through and stuff. And it comes out in my acting, especially when it has to do with protecting people. And it's very natural for me. But the sensitive soul thing is very powerful because it's vulnerable and it's open and it shows a different side of masculinity that I think needs to be seen more. Um, so I'll say sensitive soul, even though I think I could do the other role well.
You could pull off both.
Yeah, I think so.
Love triangle drama or devoted single love interest?
Devoted single love interest. I
For
I mean I get the triangles and stuff, but who I am and the way I work personally, the idea of pursuing so strongly one singular thing, I think is more interesting
mm,
than having a triangle because I think the obstacles have to become more personal when it's a singular relationship taking place because if that's the other person's the obstacle then like in a triangle that's easy but when you have to overcome internal things or things about yourself or about the other character when it's just two other people, I actually think that's more lifelike and way more interesting.
mm. Playing the one who gets the girl or the heartbreaker?
Well, I want to get the girl. I definitely want to get the girl. I don't want to break hearts.
Forbidden romance or fairy tale love story?
Forbidden romance. 100% forbidden romance. It's so obvious. It's forbidden romance.
Do you like someone who challenges you or someone who adores you?
In what way? Can you be more specific?
So it challenges you to be, for me, it would be to be a better person or like,
I'll answer this in a in a
yeah,
in a specific way
yeah.
because I think ultimately I want to be challenged. Uh, but I don't want to be challenged because they're constantly pointing out things that are critical, lacking, or flawed that need to be improved upon. I want to be challenged because I'm inspired by who they are and how they do things. And if they want to hold me to a higher standard because they know I'm capable of it, great. But just challenging me by pointing things out isn't necessarily good. But I do want to be sharpened because I don't ever want to not be getting better.
Mm.
That's also part of who I am. So I will take the person who challenges me because that means that they believe in me.
Because I feel like, yeah, if someone's like who just adores you, they would agree with everything and wouldn't
Yeah.
push you to
Yeah,
be the best possible version of you.
right. I agree.
Happy ending romance or bittersweet love story?
Either, either, because both can be very true.
Mm. First love forever or second chance romance?
I guess it would really depend on the story, but I think second chance romances are really powerful.
Mm. Redemption or revenge?
Redemption every time, every single time.
This is a this or that. Shirtless scenes or suit and tie scenes?
I am good shape. I'll put it this way: if I'm in the shape I'm in now, shirtless. Had to be in good shape for this last role.
Method acting or natural instinct?
Um, that's an interesting question because the technique that I do, I wouldn't necessarily say it's method acting in the sense that we don't keep the character on and take it home, but the way that it gets you into the scene is very method like, because that's that substitution and that personalization I was talking about that really it's not just an intuition and a gut feeling. It's like you've done your best to step into this role, into this world, so that you can respond in the way that this character should. It's method like, but it definitely but I definitely believe in following your intuition and your gut. um, I think it was Meisner that talked about, um, the reason that you memorize the script monotone is so that every time you do it, it can be fresh.
Mm.
You don't want to memorize your lines with emotion. You want to just memorize them as flat as you possibly can, so that the dialogue is like a river, and you're on this boat, and you know the dialogue, and you just want to be able to allow the emotion to take you wherever it is, and you say that dialogue. And so, yeah, there's method to it, but there's also intuition to it, and being able to be in the moment as well. So it's a bit of a balance. For those that are looking at it, I believe the Ivana Chubbuck technique is in Australia. I believe they have a studio in Australia. Might be in Sydney, actually. I know that they have people came from Sydney that were here recently studying the technique that go back and teach it. They teach around the world. It's a great technique. It's fantastic.
Indie film passion projects or blockbuster films?
They say indie passion projects more than anything else, but um, it doesn't mean I wouldn't want to do a blockbuster for sure. But I really care about, like, I don't want to just make stuff to make stuff. I want to make stuff that I think is moving and touches people. But I also want to reach people. So it doesn't mean I don't want to use the platform or the reach of a larger opportunity. That would be great.
Hmm. Intuitive approach or character research deep dives?
Hmm. Both. Uh, I don't think you can really dive deep into a character unless you study them a little bit, unless it's a character that is so close to your own personal life already. Um, but aside from that, I feel like you have to do deep dive studying, and then you have to allow yourself to be relaxed, vulnerable, and open enough to have the intuition and feel the things that you feel as
Mm.
you're developing that character.
A lot of truth in that. Emotionally vulnerable roles or strong silent type roles?
It's so interesting because you know who does both of those really well is Ryan Gosling.
Mm.
Like, really, he does them so well. Because I'm working on, like, even right now, something in my acting, I'm working on stillness, that strong silent type. Because as you can tell, I'm a very expressive man. But I'm working on that strong silent type, and it was Beyond the Pines, I think is his movie. He was, or even the Driver one that he did. He was so stoic, so strong and silent. But then you watch him in other movies like The Fall Guy, and he has, he just has so much more charisma. And so I want to be able to do both, and I'm actively working on that. I think I do emotional vulnerability well, and if bringing it out, but I definitely want to be able to tap into that strong silent type even better.
Hmm. And then my last one, well, my whole spiel, night shoots or early morning shoots?
Early morning. I like the
Hmm.
morning. I want the night for myself.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
yes, 100%, 100%.
yeah,
Thank you very, very much for being here with me this morning, my time.
yeah. It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
This has been one emotional roller coaster that I was 100% here for. Holy
Good. I'm
moly.
glad.
Thank you
Glad.
for being so open.
You bet.